Hey there, aspiring horror authors. It's another episode of Sako and the Moon, created by two self published horror authors. Today we are talking to Nikki Knight of Star Angel Readings. Super psychic. It's going to be epic. All right, let's do this. This one. All right, I am Sako Toomey, artist and author, and a bunch of other things, but we'll just mention that I'm a self published author 3 times over now. I've been working on my craft for decades, and I'd like to share my skills with my acquired skills with you guys. So, this is the format that I think works best for that.
And I am Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, 1 time published, and I do a million other things. There's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait. Just you wait. I listened to a lot of Hamilton the other day, so I had to throw that in
there. It'll be great. Okay, so I mentioned a psychic that we are bringing on today, and we're gonna like pick at her brain a little bit and see, especially for authors who have psychics as their investigators. I think
Wouldn't
this
she be
episode.
picking our minds?
I'm actually going to try and avoid that.
Yeah, let's not do that. This is a
Let's not
place.
do that on the air.
No one needs to be here right now.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be in there right now. Like that's with that.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring her on. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Nikki Knight. And I put under my name horror fan, psychic, and medium. And I really adore the work of Sako, and I want to check out the Moon and your stuff. I definitely would like to see like any of the movies you've made.
Well, thank you. There's one on YouTube. If you search for Hollow Hills Entertainment, you'll see the one that we worked on, and we are in pre-production for our next.
You all right?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. Got some background
In background noise. My dad back there feeding the cats.
Okay.
It's cool. This show goes off the rails really quickly. It's usually my fault, but it goes off the rails really quickly. Because we're live. That's what happens with live. Rails. So, as a horror fan, I have to ask, what's your favorite scary movie?
Nightmare on Elm Street, the originals, not the remake.
God, no.
The remake was a sad sack of shit. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Sad sack of shit it was. Michael Bay, how dare you? Stick to Bad Boys, please.
Oh, that's really disheartening to hear.
Like the originals were great. Like they were campy. They made you understand how dreams kind of like you can control your dreams by owning your power and owning your own power. That's how you fight like sleep terrors and night terrors. Mm-hmm. Is that you recognize that you yourself are creating this energy that this thing is feeding off of, and you turn your back on it and say, fuck you, I want my power back. She goes, I'm your shit, you're nothing, I want my friends back. And all of a sudden, bam, he disintegrates. She ends up trapped in the car at the end because she gets trapped in her own ego again. But eventually, like, if you stand in your own power, these parasite type energies can't feed off of you. And I have to like do that every day when I deal with talking to other people's spirits and attachments they might have, and if I have to deal with like a baneful entity, it is really like that. kind of, not so much. I'm gonna be pulled
I
through the bed and like have blood spurts,
Of course.
yeah,
but
fair.
you know,
That is like the best social commentary given to Nightmare on Elm Street I have ever heard. Like if someone had never, like if someone walked into this podcast like, oh, I can't stand Nightmare on Elm Street, they would be sold with that explanation. That was dope.
That was dope. Yeah.
I actually lived like before I actually understood my abilities. I lived like horrific Nightmare on Elm Street like things where I got dragged out of my bed, scratched, choked in my dreams. It was hard because I would go on investigations with people who didn't know how to tell me how to protect my energy. I didn't know how to. I was so open. Um, I
Um,
I just kind of just got thrown in there, and like there was a lot of times where like I had to like take a few days to like cleanse and remove a whole bunch of heavy shit, and it would be like Nightmare on Elm Street where I go like 3 to 14 days without sleep because of attacks. It's like if you don't know what you're doing and you're stepping into the paranormal like, investigations, walking into like heavily negative places, you're gonna get messed with.
That's
yeah,
why I
for
don't mess
sure.
with that. I understand there's another world out there, and I don't have the address to nobody's house, so I don't play in that neighborhood. How you doing? I was like,
Like
I know where I belong. I know where my hood is or what's not my hood. That's not my hood, so I don't mess with it. I don't turn down
Yeah,
no
me
money.
too.
I live in both area codes basically.
Hmm.
I can't avoid it. Like in the beginning I was afraid of it, but now I'm like, hi demons, hey angels, hey spirits of all kinds. I'm chilling. You want to smoke?
That's incredible.
So, what made you think that you should do this professionally?
I felt like I can't control this unless I'm actually using this. And there'd be people asking me for readings all the time, even when I didn't understand what I was doing. Like, I started off learning how to do tarot cards after my brain went berserk and over like feeling everybody's energies and things like that and having multiple visions of things that actually happened. Like I saw a vision of a car accident I thought I was gonna be in. Someone else was in a car accident that died in another accident. It was very
Wow.
powerful awakening, and I learned how to use the tarot cards to navigate through that.
That was
And
definitely
like,
one of my other questions
yeah,
was like, did you have
yeah, if I don't have it to do, I am like not balanced because like I'm someone who's also gone through trauma. And when you are a healer, when you're an energy worker and you're a spiritual worker and you're a tarot reader, you're dealing with other people's trauma. So I
yeah.
need to navigate and balance that. So I learned how to use divination tools to help have that be external from me and
What
navigate through things.
what
And
kind of divination tools do you like to is tarot like the extent of
it,
it, or
it's
are there
mainly
other
tarot. I like to use crystal balls when I feel drawn to use it. I don't really always have the right lighting to do it, so I don't really use it that often. I like
yeah.
smoke and fire gazing. I like deep trance meditation, channeling, and pendulum use.
Pendulum use? Okay, that's cool. That's
But where I was getting at was like I have to do this every day. So if I'm gonna put out that much energy, I have to be able to afford to live and still focus on this all the time. So I just decided to, if I'm gonna do it, I might as well get paid for it.
Two birds,
yeah,
one
yeah.
stone.
It's draining, especially when people don't want to listen to your advice even after 4 hours of telling them that don't go down to the cabin in the middle of the woods, Ash. Don't go to the cabin in the woods. Don't open the
Never,
book.
never
Don't
go.
open the
They
book.
should know better. Like realistically, everyone should know not to go to the cabin in the woods by now. You're not going to
Yeah.
get me to go to the cabin in the woods. And if there's a spooky book, I'm not touching it. And if you insist on touching it, give me your keys. I'm out, and I'll call you when I'm on my way back to come pick you up later. We're not playing those games.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Like I
That's
like to use
excellent.
a lot of horror movie or pop media culture references when trying to explain some of my readings because like me with my ADHD brain, like I feel like I need to have something else that I can relate to be able to explain things correctly. So
Oh,
I use a lot of that.
So with that, does that make you, as a horror fan, does that make you seek out? Because most horror fans have like their section, their subgenres that they're into. So does this make you kind of expand your horror interests? And do you use this for your own expressions of creativity?
Um, I've written some stuff before where there was some type of paranormal connection with it, but like I need to get back to it. But yes, sometimes it does influence me. I'm deeply into my spiritual practice, and I would like to find a way to balance my love for horror and use it in creativity in some way.
The
yes,
beauty of the
that's
pen. That's the beauty of the pen, man.
yeah,
The
yeah.
easy way to get
I
all
just
that
gotta
out.
get my confidence back.
I feel that. That is like every writer's. We can probably do a whole episode on imposter syndrome and how to get out of those funks.
I need that. I'll watch that.
Yeah, because that literally affects everybody. And if I can tell you one thing, those thoughts that you're having are not just you. That is literally every single writer I have ever met. I've never met a writer that's just like, I'm the best writer, and that's like went with it. Never met a
I,
single one.
I want to make a horror movie that expands on the whole, like, we're all connected, like, alternate connection, dimension, and the connections between people in the same dimension and shit like that.
Gotcha,
And,
gotcha.
like, the feeling of having your brain be like Grand Central Station
Neat.
and, like, amplify that in, like, a Lovecraftian way.
Got you.
Mm.
I want to figure out how to do that because that was how it was like when I hit like 23, and like, and now it's like, like, oh, I'm getting messages from another higher place, from another dimension, or I'm getting messages for this person that I don't know, and they're gonna call me in 3 days. They call me in 3 days. Okay, and now I'm just used to it. Now I just feel like I'm a mail clerk in like a galactic universal company, like the
You're,
Guild of
you're,
Divine
you're here
is
to say,
like a community service center that just dishes out energy and like messages, and I'm a messenger. That's what it feels like when I have to do a whole bunch of navigating of which messages are for who when my brain is super open.
I would say
I
utilize that symbolism because you can either do the mailroom, you can do the navigator on like a train or plane, and like have that be your central character and use that metaphorically. Because the way you explained it, you basically just explained a character and just personify what you just said and then build a world around them. That's what
Mhm.
that would be my personal
Hold on,
suggestion.
let me write that down.
Do you work with spirit guides or other entities when you're doing the medium thing?
Yes, I always have my spirit husband Dave with me,
Oh,
and I always have at least four angels or four demons. Uh, and I also get like sometimes I'll get Loki, or sometimes I'll get Morgana, or sometimes I'll get Kali. It depends
mm,
on which entities and gods the people that I'm going to be reading work with.
mm-hmm.
and who's being my translator for the day.
Ah, gotcha.
That does
How
make
do
sense.
you, yeah, how do you navigate ethical considerations when providing readings or advice?
What did
Like
you say?
cynics. Like, how do you handle skeptics?
I try to just grin and bear it and just like, okay, if you don't want to take the message, you don't have to. Or like if they haven't expectation that I'm gonna have their exact spirit guide. Sometimes your guides are people you've never known in your life that just have karmic debt that's connected to you. Or just have some type of energetic connection to. They could be soulmates that you never met. They could be twin flames that you never met. Not the bullshit twin flame that everybody talks about. The runner and the chaser. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. No, the twin energy that shares the same lessons as you and walks parallel to you on your path, your divine union. Sometimes you never get to meet them in your physical life because of your own lessons that you are having trouble learning or surpassing. And so you don't get to the next level until you skip that next Goomba. Do Super Mario. Do 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 do.
um, have you ever had to deal with negative energies or entities while doing a reading?
Oh yes. I had literally had someone sit here with another person who was also like their sister was a medium, and uh they were having some spiritual issues of an entity saying things to them, and a demon, or not a demon, demons are actually nice, this is like a parasitical energy that said we're all gonna go to hell and die and all this stuff. I was like, you sound like you're Fred Phelps from the Christian right. Shut the fuck up and get out of my house.
Just banging on pans.
Yeah, like I've dealt with it now. Like when I was younger, I was so afraid when I dealt with these things. Like all I know is like you just have to cleanse, create your boundaries, and stay firm in them. But like I've had a few things like knock down a few pans in the kitchen when I used to stay in a place that hanged pans, or
Oh.
like I felt slapped before, scratched before,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
not like the ghost adventurer scratch me, mom. I'm not doing none of that dumb shit. I got scratched because they were assholes and decided to mark me. But now
um.
I learned that actual like demons and stuff like that actually are like not doing those things. They're busy like trying to navigate keeping those things out. Whenever a demon says, "Hey, I'm Lucifer," that means that the entity is either governed by Lucifer or is using your fear of Lucifer. So it
Mm-hmm.
just basically uses fear to make you afraid and take over that way.
It seems like there's a lot of background information that you kind of just have to have in order to navigate. How long did it take you to I guess understand it all before you're able to navigate it more comfortably?
It took me till like 29 to really understand my gifts and how to protect myself more, because my spirit connection with my guides got stronger.
Mhm.
And then when I came out here, I got taught about the darker end of magic and the what certain things mean and what certain things are used to create blockages and fear, and how to like see past them and not like never back out of a demon fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Right, right.
sure.
Like I had to learn like shadow work. I had to learn how to do my part of myself work.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's Mercury retrograde, which is a great time to do shadow work and kind of look inward and hermit a little bit and figure out your inner workings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you incorporate witchcraft into your psychic practice?
Yes, I do. Um, I make sure that I have protection going. Like, I use candle magic, but I also use sigil magic and meditative, like, energetic magic to
Okay.
transmute energy. So that if anything is trying to be sent to me, like it's like someone's trying to hex me, I turn that into like a blessing or some type of positive energy for me and send back their bullshit. And I try to do that. Like I try to have candle work going and sigils going that do that consistently.
Let's see. We're just whacking through these questions, aren't we? What? Well, you talked about your tools and your methods.
Here's the thing:
You.
Sako always has like a professional list of questions, and I'm just like over here, like, here's a thought. And I'm trying to not step on her toes, which is why I'm being.
No, 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 no! Please step on my toes all you want. Like,
I'm not even wearing
I,
shoes; won't even hurt.
I can't even. I can't even fill the episode with my questions. So I'm counting on you to
Oh, don't
help
worry.
me out.
We're gonna talk. Once the official questions are out, the conversation is gonna be a lot more loose. This is where the fun starts.
Okay. Um.
We have to
Let's see.
educate people. That's where Sako comes in.
Does it run in your bloodline?
Yes, I actually learned from my 23andMe that I have a cousin that's my third cousin that runs a excuse me, runs a coven called Temple of the Bones for
Oh.
Hecate in
Okay.
Near Eureka, California. And her name is Jennifer Texteria. She's a great author. You can find her book also called Temple of the Bones. She's cool and like she has a great book that has different spell works that you can do for Hecate. She's very dedicated, and I feel like she's a good source of information. She also has a book of Sources of Agra, I think it was. I forgot the name of it, but she has a couple of other books that are great too.
Great, great.
Uh,
Hopefully, I'll get links from you so that we can stick them in the description.
yeah, I can get that. The the Filipino side, my grandma was a healer. That means a healer.
Mm-hmm.
My great grandmother. She did Filipino indigenous magic.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of that spirituality in the Polynesian islands. I'm just like, I don't even know where to begin to try to learn about it. But I just know that there's so much like power in that part of the ocean. I
My
know it's there. I just
mom
can't.
was so scared of a lot of different things about spirituality and stuff like that. Like whenever we'd pick up the spirits in our house and stuff like that, she'd be like, "Don't tell me that I'm scared." Because in Filipino culture, like anything like you have to zigzag. But when you go home from a funeral, you have to like go to at least two restaurants and like go home a backwards way to be able to avoid spirits following you home. Kind of similar to here, and I've learned that you walk backwards out of a cemetery to avoid things following you home. But they have a lot of interesting, scary, uh, mythological creatures that I would like to see more in horror movies, like the Magagandal. I can't say it, the Magagandal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she looks like a pregnant woman during the day, and like when at night she separates from her lower half of her body and flies around eating babies and drinking people's blood.
I would
Neat.
watch that movie every day of the week.
I know, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to do the practical effects, because I know that they did it in the '80s in the Filipino channel, but I wanted to do one that my way, like a American version, like where they bring one to here, and like your Filipino ancestors have to like help you destroy it or whatever. But like I want to like figure out how to make practical effects, because I don't like CGI. I'm
Yeah.
like CGI blood is it's so lazy to do. Like you can mix
I'm a
corn
horror
syrup,
theorist.
red dye, and yellow dye, or blue dye.
You can actually just buy really good horror blood.
Yeah, you can do
Like
that too.
there are a lot of supply. I mean, you can make some, but
I make mine.
you can make it. You can just buy it. There's a lot. You gotta make sure you're buying like the type that you like for whatever kind of scene you're doing, because different applications will require different kinds of blood, different viscosity. If you're doing like a splatter, you can just have something loose in water. You can go out of a spray bottle. If you're having like a come off of a knife or something like that, and we had gone to a different angle of this conversation, but no, like I would love to like. I think that's one of the things about horror and creatures, that you can tap into a lot of your heritage, like you said, going back into finding those mythological creatures associated with your bloodline, and then there is so much essentially source material that I've never seen or heard of before, and like the way you just described that creature, again, I'd watch that movie literally every day of the week, because that sounds fucking dope. So yeah, I would focus on like getting that creature together and getting the backstory, the mythology along with the narrative story. Write the script first. Worry about the effects later. The effects can happen. We'll figure the effects out. Yeah, write that, because I'm telling you, like that's what is missing from horror right now with all the remakes. That's what's missing from horror. These original creative ideas that no one's touching on. That's money right there. What you're talking about right there, that's money, guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
Yeah, I just need to find people to help me make it. So
first things first, get your character together, then write your story. Get a script from that. If you can just write your story out, there's a bunch of people that you can reach out to that will help you turn your narrative story into a working script. And once you have a working script, there's plenty of people independent who can figure all the extra stuff out. Honestly, you can probably just be like, hey, work with me on this and let them think about it.
that's
great.
great.
On that creativity.
Like, thank you.
That part down. Get that part down on paper, and then worry about the rest later. That's the whole point of this podcast. The whole point of this show is to find someone who's got a great idea but doesn't know what to do next. And we figure out what to do next.
Thank you.
That's what we're here for. That is literally the purpose of this program.
Hold on for one moment. I have to use the restroom.
Okay,
go for it. And we'll just babble on about that. Because again, like that's exactly what horror is missing. It's missing these kinds of unique characters, like she was talking about. Like imagine, when's the last time you saw a creature like that? You know, in a horror movie that
video games.
Right, but that's in the video game world. Like I'm talking cinema, because I also don't play video games, but I just think that there's such a story, because when you're using something like a mythological creature, especially in a mythos that most, and we'll talk about the American audiences because we're here in America, most American audiences aren't going to be aware of those mythological backstories.
Right.
So now you get a chance to dig into the honest mythos, the honest mythology of the creature, and then you get to essentially take this creature and Americanize it, horrorize it, bastardize it, whatever, and turn it into this this monster. Of course, you'll have to do it, obviously with respect to the culture in play, but which honestly, I think that's more of just having a conversation with people and having an understanding of what would be
appropriate.
Yeah, or saying fuck it and doing it anyway. I
Yeah.
don't suggest doing that, but sometimes that's the only option you got. But no, like that is something that's really, really missing from, especially in American horror, because if you look at Japanese horror, there's a lot of Japanese horror where they take a lot of their spirit. The Grudge is a great example. Though the idea of having that Ju-on, that something horrible happens in the space and there's a curse on that space. That's a very like a legendary horror house now. The house from The Grudge. So, and we all know it now. We all know that if you step foot into that house, you're fucked, no matter where you go. Thanks, Grudge 2 and 3. But Grudge 3 went straight to DVD for good reason. But I appreciate Grudge 3. But I appreciate the fact that Grudge 3 picks up exactly where Grudge 2 left off.
Oh, yeah.
So that's at least a positive. They at least didn't screw that up.
Yeah. Like, at least it didn't do what Amityville horror movie sequels did. Like, they went totally far off from the original storyline. It's actually supposed to be a true story, and then they take it into like La La Land.
Did they ever do
Amityville Car.
Did they ever do Amityville in space? I feel like that's a
Yes.
thing. They did?
Yes. At least I saw something like that.
I feel like I heard about that. I feel like that exists. They've only made like 50 sequels or something like that. So I'm sure one of them was in space. Like the Amityville house on Mars or something.
The only
Alpha Centauri. I don't know what they. I don't know.
The only acceptable in space horror movie is Jason X in space because it's hilarious.
Hey!
Yay, we have an audience member.
Someone's listening to us.
Someone's listening to us.
They like me. They really. No, they don't. It's not fun. They're not here for me. They're not here. They're here for Nikki.
They're here for Nikki. Okay, I'm out of questions. So if we wanna, like,
it's fun time now.
It's fun time for Dawn. Okay.
Well, that's just my. It's only. I only say it's fun time for me because I get to now throw the conversation way off the rails.
Yeah, for sure.
I have so much respect for Sako because she keeps everything so organized and so structured. She's got all this educational stuff. I'm just the dude that's here, and I fill up this corner. And but no, we get to have those kind of awesome conversations. Like, okay, what is a horror movie that has not gone to space that you think should? Now I can ask that kind of a question because we're in the fun part.
Yeah. Horror flick that should go into space that maybe it should.
Like a franchise that wouldn't be completely destroyed by blank in space.
Freddy
in space?
Because if Freddy follows Jason into space, that makes sense because in like the end of Jason X, the kids in Elm Street are sitting by the river, or by they're sitting by Crystal Lake. Never mind, but they're sitting by Crystal Lake, and that's the movie right before Freddy vs. Jason. It would make sense if he followed him to hell and space.
Well, I would say that would really make sense for Nightmare on Elm Street because essentially Freddy exists where people sleep, and astronauts do sleep. So honestly, that would make. You could actually do Freddy in space in a way that does make sense because astronauts do have to sleep.
Cosmic horror. I love it's not that I want to take existing universes and bring them into space. It's that I want to make stuff in space and
in the horror.
yeah.
Okay, so then secondary question for you, Sako, and then I'll go back to Nikki.
Mhm.
What sci-fi would make a great what sci-fi franchise would make a great horror?
Uh, I am a fan of things like Event Horizon and
Which
like
is horror in its own right. I don't care
uh,
who you are. Event Horizon's a horror movie
it
with
is.
sci-fi undertones. It's a horror movie.
um,
People will say
uh,
it's a horrific sci-fi. No.
Lily
It's a science fiction.
Cat, Alien, just creatures or entities that are in space that humans don't understand
Which is awesome.
is like the bee's knees.
Planet of the Apes.
Oh, a movie like Smile, yeah, that'd be good in
Oh,
space.
that would be
Yeah.
good. That would be really good. Because that would be really good because of the premise of Smile. Because you have to find a way to pass that on, and depending on what, like, are we talking about like a modern day space shuttle or like a futuristic spaceship or a space colony? Because all of those different uh, environments would restrict the passing along of the curse. So you could play along with that really, really well. That's a great suggestion. That's great. Uh, so here's a question. So there is a lot of paranormal. Like paranormal is a subgenre of horror. You're a horror fan, and you deal with the real life. Your real life dealing with paranormal. What's a franchise that you think gets it right?
I would say Smile got it right when it came to how they manipulate you. They use your fears and stuff like that, and it got it right in that sense too. But I feel like uh, The Conjuring was also because it's based on a true story too.
Mm,
But like these movies have elements that were on point, but I think a combination with the being able to stand up to the entity and be strong within yourself to not feed them the fear that they're looking for
right.
will protect you in the end.
So opposite side of that coin, what is the franchise that just absolutely shit the bed, like just messed it all up?
Blair Witch.
That's fair. Yeah, you can pretty much use Blair Witch for any. How did it? Not, Blair Witch is one of those.
Specifically Blair Witch 2. The first Blair Witch I could see like some crazy lady killed some people in the woods. But paranormally, like what's a demon got to really do to like three teenage kids in a cabin and really care about to like really care what the fuck these people up really all that much. There's no gain for this witch to do this all this time,
Yeah,
and
Book of Shadows was it's a horror sore spot to me, in my
yeah,
opinion. Because
yeah. Book of Shadows, they like completely shit on the original idea.
they did.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing about Blair Witch. Blair Witch like I won't say created the genre, but really put a highlight on found footage. Um,
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity falls into that found footage style, paranormal intertwining. Do you feel like there's just like a natural connection between found footage subgenre of horror and paranormal things? I don't want to say paranormal activities, but the paranormal in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's bringing more knowledge to how things are shown in like physical evidence,
Mhm.
but they kind of like give like the whole fear idea of it being like this demon from hell or whatever, because it's always not, you don't, it's always not going to give you the name. If it gives you Lucifer, that 10 times out of 10 it's not the name you're looking for. And like in a lot of practices, the goetic demons are protectors and actually protect you from these types of entities. And I didn't like, I liked Hereditary, but I didn't like how they kind of used Paimon like that.
I was actually about to ask you about Hereditary next.
Yeah, Paimon is actually a great teacher. And I haven't worked with him necessarily, but I work with both the Heavenly and the Infernals for a lot of pantheons, because I use my energy as messenger for a lot of people and a lot of different point of views. I've contacted plenty of demonic entities, and they don't work that way.
So do you feel like that was more inaccurate as far as the portrayal of the spirits, or the portrayal of the cult associated with
the portrayal of the cult? And like they use the right sigils, but they wouldn't need to sacrifice a child or a human being. They would need is to make a good meal in his name. They would have a much boring movie.
So we have like creative embellishment.
Yeah, but it's more like it ain't all that.
Well, you know, there is obviously space for creative embellishment.
Yeah.
But hopefully they didn't go too far with the embellishment to where they kind of ruin the source material. That's kind of the line you have to always go with. We were talking about that while you were gone, about using the like Polynesian mythos to create a horror monster. You'd have to study it, but also be respectful for what you're creating.
Yeah.
Make sure it's respectful to the culture, so you don't have that backlash. Or you either do that, or you just say fuck it and you just do it anyway. But there's obviously repercussions for that. So there's room for creative embellishment and just kind of doing things the way you want to, because that's how creativity works. But there should be care culturally, especially if you're going to use something that's culturally important to somebody. There should be some care to that.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty, but only in like little sips.
Taking little sips. Little tiny sips. I would too, but I ran out of water. Like some
I've been babysitting mine.
I ran out of water a minute ago. I just sucked mine down. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is something that you, Nikki, would just love for? Because like we mentioned very briefly, skeptics, right? People who don't really understand what you do and the worlds that you interact with. What is something that you would simply say to the skeptic watching this to help them, maybe not to convince them, but to help them better understand? How can you convince this? Like, just what would you say to a skeptic to be like, this is what I'm honestly doing versus what you might think I'm doing?
I'm here to help people navigate their own spiritual journey. I'm not here to tell them how to live or what to think or whether or not they should listen to the ancestors' advice that they're giving. They're just here to get what I'm getting. They're not here to be manipulated out of their coins. I'm here to help them find their own spiritual peace by getting peace from messages from the other side. And it's hard to do sometimes when someone has so many spirits coming in at once for one person, that sometimes I might not get your beloved Aunt Grace. I might not get your grandmother. I might get your guides that come from a higher level. I might get a deity. I might get uh, a spirit that has no physical connection to you, but may have some connection to you from another form. It's about messages that you need to know for your next steps for your path and what you need to do for your own spiritual health.
So
It's not about it's
you're not putting your morality into it.
yeah, I'm not here to do that. And you can take what resonates and leave what doesn't.
So you can just take you're the spiritual male person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're here to deliver the message that's being said. You're like,
Rain,
look,
sunshine, heaven or hell.
right. So just to make sure we're not getting lottery numbers, right? I was waiting sure that's
No
addressed
lottery numbers.
because
I get angel numbers.
today is Mega Millions. I'm just throwing that out there. I
I,
could use a couple
I
$1,000.
used to think it was a lotto numbers or numbers where people were going to die, but then I learned about synchronicity and angel numbers, and I thought they were bullshit until I started Googling the numbers that popped up in my head.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's one of those things that will get you. I think that there's so much. As someone who's not like immediately involved, I recognize that there's more than my physical world around me, and you know, I say officially I'm Christian, but I'm more spiritual than I am religious. And I think even in any level of spirituality, you're acknowledging the existence of something beyond what your eyes can see, something that your body can sense with an organ your doctors have never discovered. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of what you call it, there's a force to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? And I appreciate someone like you who takes the time to understand those worlds and those realms and puts themselves in a position, sometimes dangerous. If you like you were talking about earlier in your life, and you didn't know how to protect that, when you're able to put yourself in that space to help
It,
and benefit everyone else around who is not on that level. So for whatever it's worth, I thank you and I appreciate the role that you do.
Thank you so
In that
much. I really appreciate that. And like sometimes I talk about my life and I feel like people will can't believe me because I am a medium psychic that used to be in a punk band that is spiritually married to Dave Rocky from the band Guar. I don't really publicize that as in my readings or in my like daily life, but I say it now because like I love him and I'm just gonna be honest with people and like it's
Definitely
just there on
exclusive right here with Sako and the Moon.
like you know what I mean? Like I'm encouraged to date physically, but like I enjoy being with my partner. Um I've been like kind of like a little bit ostracized but by being open, but there is many people coming out of the closet or the coffin as spectrosexual, and that means you fall in love with someone's consciousness, meaning who they really are as a person, regardless of their physical form or not.
So like their essence. You're in love with
Yeah.
the essence of a person.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's that. I think people who criticize that look at terms they're willing to criticize everything. But I mean, I think the average person who says I love her soul. I mean, essentially, you're saying roughly the same thing. I think the
Yeah,
essence of the person
absolutely. The
outside of
soul is amazing.
outside of
Like
the
if you
other.
can't love someone's soul, I mean, well, I mean, like you can
Do you
love
even
me.
love someone?
Yeah, I know.
Like if you don't love a person's soul for the essence of who they are,
It's
do
just
you love
weird for
them?
people because I met him as a spirit because I'm a medium and he literally saved my life. Like I met him in 2000, like he died around 2014. Like a week after he passed, like I was going through a rough patch with my ex, and like I was going to like leave this place, and all I heard was, "You know that's fucking stupid, right?" And I was like scared. And it was like I saw him in his costume, and I was like, wait a second, I'm tripping balls. I didn't even take the Vicodin yet. I'm losing my mind. This is like when my abilities were starting to like get stronger.
Mhm.
And like he stuck around for months, and like I started to get to know the man behind the mask. And then I came out here in 2015, met his best friend that like roadied for him for a while when he was doing war, and like I told him everything that I saw, I heard about him, everything that he said to me, and he showed me a bunch of stuff that corroborated what I saw and heard. And like, he doesn't quite understand the relationship part, but like I
Mm-hmm.
have like, I came out here and like ended up permanently out here.
Well,
And it's been good ever since.
I think like with most relationships, it's not really for everybody else to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to understand anybody else's relationship. I just have to make sure that mine makes sense to me. So, so
Yeah.
hey, I'm for what it's worth, I'm really glad that you made a decision to stick around, and because without that, we wouldn't have you as an amazing guest for this super fun episode of this show. So I'm
Thank
glad you're
you.
here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Holy
I
crap.
didn't
Yeah,
know I was
jump
going
right
to
in,
talk
buddy.
about that. It just came out of my mouth.
I love exclusive on our shows. That's great. I'm always down.
That's
Told you this is the fun part.
super keen. Yeah. Yeah. How do people find you, Nikki?
You can find me on TikTok at Star Angel Readings, and the same thing for Instagram and Facebook is Star Angel Readings LLC. You can also find me as Nikki Knight if you want to add me on my personal page.
Very cool.
Yeah, I don't understand most of the things that happen around me.
And you would prefer it stay that way?
Yeah, I felt
Just
like saying all that because it's been 10 years now, and it's still
Mm-hmm.
been the same. So
Mm-hmm.
works for me. But yeah, my
mm.
like with the comments saying like I ride most of my relationship out. It's like it's a wave. Just like most of my like social relationships, I'm riding this wave out.
Where's my reactions? Are my reactions turned off?
Now I figure the one time you want to actually use it.
I know, right? Oh,
There it is.
there it goes. Oh, the
Yeah.
loves.
But my main reason for mentioning it's like my life doesn't sound like a real life. It sounds like it should be a Netflix TV show. Rock star, psychic, married to a ghost.
I think I might have seen that show.
I know.
Don't feel bad.
I would want to do it kind of like Bewitched mixed with like Sabrina the Chilling Tales a little
Uh-huh.
bit, kind of like dark and no, I would do it like What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
You know what? As a creative, that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, do it. Like, use it. Use what you've got. And if you think that it would be, even if you think the only person that will watch it or read it is you, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There are
Yeah.
some projects that I'm working on that are solely for me. I have no point. They'll never get filmed. They'll never get published. They'll never be put out for here, there, the other place. They are solely for me, and it's because sometimes people believe that the ideas hit you, and so you got to do something with the idea before the idea goes to someone else because the idea needs to be out. So these are your ideas, and this is your life. If you feel like your world, your real life is fiction esque, make it fiction-esque. You know, just fictionalize it and embellish it. Use that creativity embellishment we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't
Fucking
know if
do.
I'm ready to write about me and Dave, but being open about it, I am. Like, I don't really like post about him every day and stuff like that. Like, even if he was alive and physical, I wouldn't do that because, like, I know how noxious.
That can
Well,
be.
like it can be other. You can create a fictional version of yourself and fictionalized version, and then they don't have to match. They just have to, like, Such as Life is a story that I worked on. It's not horror, so I don't talk about it a whole lot. But the main character there is a fictionalized version of me. Um, his life is nowhere near the way his life is. His mom is not like my mom. His background is not like my background. But his personality and such is essentially me, which makes it really easy to write. So, so,
Okay.
so yeah. My suggestion again would be just to fictionalize yourself. If this is an idea that you feel like this should be out in the universe somehow, then just make a fictionalized version of yourself, fictionalize the circumstances, and go to town with it.
Yeah.
The beauty about being a creative, man. We work as gods, and we create entire worlds and universes, and they literally bend to our will because we create them as we want. So be
Take
the
those
fucking goddess that
wishes.
you are and write your story.
Yeah.
Be the goddess that you are and write your story.
Thank
Damn it.
you. I definitely will.
Okay. If you liked this video at any point, I encourage you to hit the like button. And if you want to see more episodes like this one, or you want to get a hold of Nikki Knight or anything like that, you can find links in the description eventually. Sorry about that. And you might want to subscribe and maybe even ring that bell on the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you when we go live. And we'll catch you on the flip side.